my background in theater was our professors would just tell us what to do and how to do it, where to breathe, where to stand, when to say the line, at what point, go to your mark, raise your hand up. It was like that. That was my training. And I wanted to break free from that. You know, I wanted to really explore what I can do with my own skill sets and with my own mind of how I interpret a character. So that was everything to me when he said that. It really opened me up to just, you know, allowing whatever I have, you know, in my body or in my heart, all my training and all my, you know, my intuition out freely.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Dolly de Leon is an actor. She sat down with me in New York City to talk about the work. Can you talk about where you were in your creative life when you first heard about this film, Triangle of Sadness, that it was, not even sure if it had a name yet, that there was auditions going out? Just give me an overview of your artistic self at that moment, not necessarily success in your country or anything like that.
Right,
but,
I know what you mean.
Okay.
And I love this question because it's never been asked. I was in a very dark place. I attended this leadership seminar before, and the first thing they asked us, when you wake up in the morning, from a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? And at that time, I was in 1. You know, hating life, hating the fact that I would still wake up every morning and I'm still alive. It was that dark, it was that bad. Because at that point, I was getting parts that I wasn't really very happy about. I would just say yes to any offer. I was the kind of actor who didn't read scripts. If there's a filming or a taping or a shoot, I'm in. Let's do it. I don't care what the part is. I don't care who's the director. I don't care about any of that. I'm in. Let's do it. I'm free. I'm available. So, and I was resigned to that kind of life. I kind of was, you know, I was already settled by that time. That this is my career. This is what's going to happen. I'm never going to play any roles or characters that will excite me. So, when I went to that audition, you know, even if I was in a very dark place, I still would approach everything 100% because that's my training in theater. And our professor, Tony Mabesa, who was my mentor, taught us that you never do anything half-baked. You have to go full in 100%. So everything I did was like that. So I dressed the part. I dressed like Abigail. I put on my simplest clothes, came in without any makeup, and was as nondescript as possible. So I guess, I don't know, maybe that dark place I was in helped me get the part. I'm not sure. I don't even know about that. You know?
It's possible, right? I mean, just that, the combination of you putting 100% in, but feeling that way, kind of like beaten down.
Yes, exactly. Beaten down. That's exactly right.
So let's go back now for a second, though. You were just mentioning your training. So talk to me about how you started and why you wanted to do this in the first place.
Well, it all started when I was in grade school. Our teacher asked us to do a skit where the scene is, it's an all-girl Catholic school, by the way, I went to. And the scene is supposed to be, I don't remember the whole story, but I do remember that our mother dies in the scene. And I play one of the kids, and the mother was played by one of my classmates. So she was laying on the floor of my classroom, and she was dead. And I was so into it that I really felt the pain, and I started to really cry. And I was so into it, and it felt so good. It really felt so good that I was releasing all this emotion that was inside me, because I grew up in a house where my mother didn't like it when we cried. Like, she would get mad at us, scold us, and then when we start crying, she'll say, stop crying, stop crying, stop crying. So, you know, I grew up in that environment, but being in that skit, I was given the freedom to express myself. So it felt like a very good outlet. And after that, I was just hooked. acting to me really is an outlet. It's like therapy to me.
Yes.
So after that, I joined the drama club. I joined the glee club. I joined the dance club. I was very active with that, and I didn't really do any plays because our school didn't do that kind of thing. The only plays we ever did was, the nativity scene every Christmas. And I played one of the little angels. I was always one of those background supporting people.
Yeah.
And then when I got into high school, because I got kicked out of that school where I came from, I got kicked out. So I moved into this better school, but I had to repeat my sophomore year. I had to repeat that. So I went in there. By the way, I got kicked out because of bad conduct. I was a bad kid. I was always getting into trouble, making fun of the teachers and the nuns. It was a Catholic school, so I'd make fun of the nuns and things like that. So when I got kicked out and moved into a better school, my father told me, okay, I got you into a good school because I know the principal, but you have to repeat sophomore year and you have to really do well there. So when I got there, I was so, I didn't want to, embarrass my father because I adored my father. So I was a good girl, always on the sidelines, quiet, shy, and really the opposite of who I was from the school where I came from. So I joined the drama club, but I wasn't really very active because I was very shy and I was very insecure. And the people running the drama club were there since they were in first grade, so they owned the school. So I was really intimidated by that, and I really didn't, maximize that. But it was in college is when I really got into acting, because I enrolled in the certificate course of theater arts in the University of the Philippines. So that's where I studied drama or theater. On my first year, I already got a part in a play, doing just a few lines, but it was so much fun. And we were being directed by my mentor, Tony Mabesa, and it was great. And then after that, roles, I got cast in so many plays. And that's really where I got my formal training on really how to, the little tricks and the techniques. I learned it all there. And then from there, I started doing bit parts in soaps and comedy shows and TV. I played my first real acting role when I was in college I was a tomato. I was in like a mascot. I was inside a big tomato with no lines, and my face couldn't even be seen. So it was that kind of thing. But in high school, I was doing some commercials, which people don't consider acting, but to me, that's a lot of acting, commercials, because they make you do things over and over again, and you have to have a certain amount of skill to be able to do that.
Yes.
So that's what happened. And it's really theater that really, that I got trained in theater. I was trained there, and I got all my experience in theater.
You've said that theater is your great love.
It's my home. Yeah. It's my great love and my home.
Yeah. Going into that audition then for Triangle of Sadness, it just, you knew who this director was, right?
Yes.
I did. So were you thinking this could be my big break? You probably didn't know at all what this role was though, right?
No. Well, I did. They gave me an idea of who Abigail was. They gave me a brief synopsis. So, I was excited by that, but I didn't at all think it was going to be a big break, because my first thought was, I'm not going to get this. They're not going to choose me. But I'm going to go anyway, just to see. And the guy who contacted me, Jake Macabagal, who's a good friend, who they contacted to get in touch with the actresses of my demographic, told me, you have to go, Dolly. Come on, you have to go. Just try. Just see what happens. Yeah. So, I still went, but not at all. I didn't think I was going to get it. I never get anything. I don't do well in auditions.
So he wasn't there, though, right? It was a casting director. And this is pre-pandemic. This is going back. That's the other thing. We're talking about something that was 4 years ago.
Right.
At this point.
Yes.
So that's considering what we went through, this is ancient history almost.
It is.
It's hard for you to even remember this stuff, probably.
Yeah. Well, yeah, some's really hard to remember, but that audition, I'll never forget that. The day is so clear to me. Even what I was wearing is so clear to me. It's so clear to me that I still have that shirt with me, and I'm never throwing it away.
Wow. So how many callbacks were there? Were there tons of callbacks? And when did you finally meet him, Ruben?
So I auditioned, with Pauline, the casting director in Manila. And then a few weeks after, I believe it was 2 or 3 weeks after, and by the time I had let go of it, I was like, whatever they're never gonna call. And then Jake messages me, he emails me and tells me, Dolly, you're in the top 5. And Ruben wants to meet you via Skype.
Okay, so wait, we have to pause right here. This changes everything, right? When you get that
Oh
message.
yeah, everything changed. Everything changed. When he told me that, then I knew I had a shot.
Yeah.
Then because I'm a very prayerful person, I started praying to get this part. I cried over, getting this part with my kids. And, I was, see? I'm getting emotional now remembering it. I made a kind of a deal with God. I told him, if I don't get this, it means I have nothing to offer in terms of talent. So Jake arranged for that meeting with Ruben via Skype, and I asked, what's the meeting about? Am I going to act in front of him? Is this another audition? No, he just wants to see, what you're like, what all of you are like, all 5 of us are like. He wants to talk to you and see if you understand each other, because he's Swedish, I'm Filipino, right? So there's that language barrier. And it's just like an interview. So, okay. So I knew that the meeting with him was coming. And at that point, I was reading Ivana Chabak, okay? Power of the Actor. I was reading that book at that point.
Yes.
And being the traditional kind of reader that I am, even if it's an acting book with chapters, I started her book from the first page up to the end, but I hadn't gotten to the audition page yet. So when I knew that I was going to meet him, because Jake told me there was no audition, but I said I have to be prepared just in case he makes me do something. So I jumped to that chapter about auditions, and there's a little trick that she gives there. And I did that during our Skype meeting. And that's where I first met Ruben. And it was just talking about the character, about, he told me that he doesn't have a clear image of Abigail. He wants it to be dependent on the actor that he chooses. And he said that he really does want me for the part, but there's another producer who's not too keen on getting me. And I said, what do I have to do to convince this producer to choose me?
Yeah.
And he said, no. And then he was laughing, and we were just laughing about it. No. We'll see what happens. And it was a long talk. It was probably like 35 minutes. And he just he asked me questions about my career, about what I've been doing and how I see Abigail. And by this point, because everything changed, like you said, I had a very clear picture in my head about who Abigail was.
So wait, did you get the script when you were in the top 5?
No.
Oh, but you had...
I had the sides.
You had the side, I see.
And the sides are the 3 very important scenes. The giving of the food, the scene with Carl in the boat, and when they steal the food. So I had those with me, and I had the synopsis, so I kind of had an idea about her.
Yeah.
So first of all, she had to know how to fish and all that. She had to have all the skills. So
these are little clues that you're taking and just like building. Yeah.
Right.
It's enough to build.
Right. And then there's the ending, which I knew about also. So I knew that she had to have a backstory for that ending, for why would she have that kind of a dilemma. So I was prepared for all of that by the time I got to meet Ruben, and everything was so clear to me. And I think that's also why that meeting convinced him, because in my head, Abigail was really crystal clear to me how I wanted her to be portrayed. And I told him about, I think that she shouldn't have a family. She should be like a spinster, no husband, no kids, no family, left home at a young age, left everything behind, and forgot all about her past because she went through a lot. And so I think that's it, maybe.
Let's talk about this idea that I think is so beneficial, I think, to the actor, which is how Reuben works, which is that he, even in the audition here, even in this first meeting, he's telling you, I want you to build her with me. You see, and it's so different from like an audition where you're going in and you're thinking, how am I going to fit into what this director thinks of this character? This is already opening up this idea of, you're a creative partner with me. How huge was that?
That was everything. Because my background in theater was, our professors would just tell us what to do and how to do it, where to breathe, where to stand, when to say the line, at what point, go to your mark, raise your hand up. It was like that. That was my training. And I wanted to break free from that. I wanted to really explore what I can do with my own skill sets and with my own mind of how I interpret a character. So that was everything to me when he said that. It really opened me up to just, allowing whatever I have, in my body or in my heart, all my training and all my, my intuition out freely. But the thing with him is, he will tell you that, and then when you bring it all out, that's when he starts tweaking things. He's really good.
He calls himself the curator of ideas.
He is.
That's really interesting, right? Because he's taking what you're offering,
right,
and molding it. I think this is what a director should do, even on all levels. Like, even if director doesn't work with actors quite like this, they still should be this person that is, kind of curating the ideas that the actor has.
Exactly. And in that scene, there's this scene in the film where Yaya and Abigail are walking in the jungle. And this is after the whole Carl and Abigail brouhaha. So I asked for him. I knew we were filming it the day after. I messaged him. I said, Ruben, I need to talk to you. Can I have a few minutes of your time? Sure. So he meets me at my resort, because we're in different resorts on the island. So he comes to my resort, we meet, and I told him, Ruben, Filipinos are very nice people. We're kind and very hospitable. And I think that it would be appropriate for Abigail to apologize to Yaya. Can we add just a little, very, like an aside? Sorry about what happened. Something like that.
Yeah.
While they're walking. It doesn't have to be a big deal, just, hey, I'm sorry about what happened. And he says, yeah, okay, yeah, let's do that. Amazing. Sure, let's do it. The next day, so okay, he says yes, right? So as an actor, I feel, okay, my input is important here, it matters.
Yeah.
Great, this is a great place to work at. Next day, comes to me, before we do the scene, and he goes to me, Dolly, I don't think the sorry will work, because, it really changes the whole dynamic between you and Yan. I don't think Abigail would apologize because she has so much pride. And yeah, I think you're right. Okay. He's a master manipulator in a good way.
Yeah. Right. So he almost talked himself out of talking himself out of.
Exactly. He's a master, I tell you. He's great. He's a dream to work with. Oh my gosh, if I can work with a director like that every time, I'd be in heaven.
So let's talk about this, though, because I've heard some things that make me think, this sounds like the opposite. It sounds like hell on earth for an actor, because he does dozens and dozens of takes. And I mean, a lot of directors do that. A lot of great directors, fine. But we'll talk about that. But there's this gong that he has now.
Yes.
He says gong. Action and hits a gong.
Yes.
And when I heard this, I was like, this man must be stopped. But then I read something about what you said about this. I want you to talk about it right now.
Yeah,
what this gong did.
Oh, that gong. That gong. I love that gong so much. Oh my gosh. It helped me prepare for the scene. Because, sometimes when the director shouts action, it kind of throws me off a little bit. It's like you're preparing, right? You're in a space of preparation. You're getting ready for the scene. You're standing in your mark. The cameras are set and everything's a go. And then action!
Yeah.
It kind of throws me off a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a jolt, exactly. Even if they say it very calmly, like action, it still throws me back to reality.
Yeah.
So the gong is because the gong takes a while to die down. The sound takes a while to die down. It's like, boom.
That's right.
And you have to start the action.
It's almost like a meditative moment.
Exactly.
Then. Oh my God, I didn't think of that.
Exactly. So I didn't find it jarring at all. I found it really very, it was like hypnotic to me. It was like, because the whole time everyone's waiting for the sound to die, but I'm there preparing for the scene. At the same time, waiting for the sound to die, and it really puts me in a place of union with the scene and with my co-actor.
Now, wait. Do you think that this is just that this was his reasoning for the gong, or it's just a byproduct?
No, I don't think so. Not at all. I think that the gong was his way of encouraging the actors that, okay, guys, this is the last take. because he does a lot of takes, right?
He doesn't do it for every take, the gong?
No, it's the very last take
Okay.
of the day. All right, guys, everybody, this is the last take of the day, and we're like on our 70th take, and we're exhausted, and we want to go home and sleep. Okay, this is the last five. He'll say last five. So, okay, oh, that feels so good. Yes, last five. We do the 4. Sometimes he cheats. He does 6 or 7, But then when it's the last, okay, it's the last take. So we're all feeling, yes, we're done. This is the last take. So, I mean, we give it our 200%, which is, it sounds so unprofessional because, by the first take, you should be giving your 200%, but it does a psychological thing to it fucks with your brain, The thought that it's your last take, you're exhausted, you spent 8 hours doing it, and then he hits the gong. That's his way of really, what do you call it? Like, when you go to a carnival and there's that thing and you hit it with a hammer like that.
Yeah.
Like it catapults you to that space there.
Do you think, and do you know this by watching the film, are many of the last takes in the film?
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you know what percentage of...
Probably. I never talked to him about this. I'm going to see him in London. I'm going to ask him about it.
Yeah.
Probably, this is just, an approximation.
Yeah.
I would say 85%.
Is toward the end
Toward the end, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's a lot. So see, when I hear about this, and I understand it. There's this certain tension and nervousness and lines that are being read that go away when you get tired and you become...
it becomes organic.
Right. And then there's still 20 more takes, and then you're gonna go up a hill again, probably.
Yes.
But this also seems like it's counteractive to somebody like you who has training. Like, I can understand a non-actor benefiting from this, but a trained actor, talk to me.
It benefited me a lot. I think it's because my background is theater, and theater, it's repetitive. We rehearse over and over again. Sometimes we do 3 runs in a day, in a few hours, so. But yeah, up to a certain point, it was like, come on, Ruben, really? One more take? Sometimes I would do that to him. Are you serious? One more? Yeah. And he's smiling. Yeah. Shit. I'm like, okay. But no, it helped me a lot. It helped me because, I have really problems with lines. That's my main challenge as an actor. I don't have a very good memory. In fact, whenever I get jobs, the first thing I ask for is a hard copy of the script because I find it hard to memorize lines when it's on my phone or on the laptop. I need it on paper. I need to write notes, and I need it in advance because I need to memorize everything in advance. And then the day before, I go through the lines again.
Yeah.
So I have a problem with memory. But doing it over and over again, you do reach a certain point where the lines are just incidental.
Right.
The lines don't even matter anymore. And another thing is, because I think I'm kind of also, in a way, that style served me really well because we were on an island. We're marooned there, and it's a life or death situation. You don't know if you're going to survive that. So doing the takes over and over again adds more tension to that situation. So, and we really are exhausted, and we really are hungry.
That's true.
Right?
That's right.
But then for Harris and Shelby, in the first part of the film, I don't really know how that played out because they're relaxing in a restaurant and
Right.
But
right.
For me, it really helped a lot.
I'm imagining that the screening at Cannes must have been mind-blowing because people are literally cheering and either laughing or cheering for you. And then I'm imagining when you get to America and the same thing happens, like it did this week.
Wow, yeah.
And you're like, this is the world. I mean, so it's all over the world.
Right.
They're cheering for this character.
I haven't done a play in 5 years. And that really breaks my heart because I love the theater. I love the energy of the audience. I love when you get real-time reactions from the audience. I love the curtain calls, bowing and hearing the applause. And it felt like that when I was in Cannes. And that's why Cannes is so special to me, because I felt like I was back in the theater performing live. But I was also watching myself. So it was so surreal.
Yeah.
It was really strange, so odd. The situation, people, it felt so good.
Yeah.
But it was also unbelievable. I couldn't fathom that everything was happening. It was so strange because I was in a gown, seated next to Harris and Zlatko, and with a French audience, cinephiles,
Yeah.
who have very, they have a very distinct taste when it comes
Yeah.
to cinema, and then before that, walking in, standing on the red carpet with
Yeah.
hundreds, or not hundreds, dozens of photographers, flash photography, and smiling, and it's so weird. It's really weird, but in a good way.
Yeah. And it's not, the great thing about this, I think you have to realize, and I'll just tell you from my point of view of this as a very snobbish film goer, you were my favorite part of this movie. Like, this is not
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, this is not just like a role and it's fun. You really made me laugh. You took command of this character. You're telling us the story of this acting seeds inside you that we're finally able to sprout in this. And we get to benefit from that. It's not just like this was a great thing for you. It's a great thing for us. I mean that.
That's sweet. It's really funny when I hear things like that, what you just said, because I don't know, I'm gonna sound arrogant, but it's a job that I do,
Yeah.
And people ask me, how did you prepare? The usual way. I mean, I didn't do anything really special. I did the same thing. I wrote a journal to create a backstory about her, and I was just in the moment, collaborated with my director, and I was really fortunate enough to work with very talented actors. It's a really great ensemble.
Yeah.
They're so talented, and they're so easy to work with, and they're so much fun. They're great people too. So, I mean, it's great. Thank you. It feels good, that my performance has that impact. But, really, at the end of the day, it was another working day for me.
Yeah. And I think everybody needs to hear that. And I think it also goes to, like, we think we found some, newcomer here. Like, everyone's talking about you like it.
Yeah. And it's funny that they're calling me a breakout star. Like, wow.
Yeah.
It's sweet. It's nice. But, I mean, really, at my age, I'm breaking out. I mean, well, better late than never, right?
That's right. And the other thing that's interesting that I realized about what this film does to the audience, and that I think you probably had to deal with, is the idea that you have to become, on screen, sexy enough for that scene in the boat to actually make sense, to the point of, like, this is not just a power move here. We actually believe, like, he wants to be there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. That kind of messes with and I didn't realize it until I thought about it later, that was doing that to me. You know what I mean? Because in the moment you're just thinking, well, he has to do this to survive. But then you think about it, because you're really sexy in that scene.
Thank you. When I was reading the script, Abigail is not sexy at all. She's actually the exact opposite.
Wow.
Of Yaya. She is old. Okay? She's old. She's not very attractive. Not attractive at all. No sex appeal. Really vanilla. Milk and cookies kind of thing. And that's how she looked on paper. But I wanted to put a little, I wanted her to be charming. I wanted her to be sexy. I wanted her to have sex appeal. Because, sure, there's that element of the transaction, right, between Carl and she, that, there's sexual favors going on there, so he gets food or fish or pretzel sticks. But I also wanted him to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I wanted Carl to enjoy Abigail as a woman.
Yeah.
But not just as a transaction.
Yeah. I mean, it's so much more interesting. It's also much more realistic too, because he's having problems with his model girlfriend. But the burden is on you to make that realistic, though. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
The burden is on you because that could have been, with another actress, almost a folly.
It could have.
An absurd.
Yes. Yes. And if he had chosen another actor to play Abigail, it would have been that story.
Right.
It would have been a totally different story.
Right.
Abigail could be played 100 different ways.
Right. So here's the other embarrassing thing for me about this, and I know that this is a big part of why you wanted to do this. I didn't know what OFW stands for.
Overseas foreign worker. But in the Philippines, we call it overseas Filipino worker.
1.7 million Filipino people work overseas.
I'm telling you, I've been to many different places for this film. I've been to Toronto and then to Austin. I'm now in New York. I went to LA as well. I'm going to Virginia. I'm going to London. And who knows where else I'm going. But in all those places, I am meeting a friend. A Filipino friend who lives in those places. That's how spread out we are.
Wow.
And they're all working there.
Wow.
Some of them really live there. They have their families there. Some are alone. But they're all professionals or they're all working there. Legally, you know?
So when they see this movie and they see this turn of events and this character and this story.
My God, having them, you know, that's the best thing I think about this whole thing. Having them in the theater, knowing that they're there, their presence is there. I can feel their energy. Because I'm very sensitive that way. I can feel their energy. I can feel the love. It's really different when it's coming from your peers because they know my body of work. They know what I can do. So to them, that's what they see isn't really much of a surprise because they know my skill sets. If you know what I mean, they know it. So it's a different level of appreciation, which I also love. Because then it's like an affirmation that, okay, Dolly, you did the right thing. You know, you're on the right track. You're okay.
Yeah.
Compared to people who saw me for the first time and they're like, wow, you're great. And okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's also nice. But you don't know what the other things I've done. How do you know?
Right.
Maybe I was just lucky. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. When you started this process into 2018 that you were mentioning at the beginning of the interview, you didn't have an agent. Now you have an agent.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I have an agent and a manager.
Yes.
My manager watched the screening in Cannes and he DM'd me on Instagram, said, hi, I'm Adam Kirsch and I work for Fusion. Would you like to meet? We had wine that afternoon and I said, and we had a really nice talk and you know, at that point, I didn't know the difference between an agent and a manager. So I had to ask him and explained it and all that. And it took me a month to go with him. And I'm so happy with my decision because he is super.
I've heard nothing but good things about him.
He's fantastic. And he introduced me to my agent, Gersh, Jen. So he's responsible for making my life so much easier now.
Do you sit them down and say, look, this is the road I want to go down now. These are the parts I will not play. These are the parts I will play. Do you have that talk or what?
We did have that talk. I told them that I want to do, you know, comedies more because in the Philippines, you know, they have this tendency of casting actors like me in very dramatic roles because they know that they can count on us to tap into our emotions, you know, to do very heavy scenes, very emotional scenes. And I'm getting kind of tired of doing that same shit because it's every single time I'm like crying in a scene. The whole day I like cry in 5 different scenes and by the time I'm to the 6th, I'm dry. And I feel so incompetent and I feel so worthless and useless. I'm like, why are you making me do this? Yeah. I just want to have fun. You know, so yeah, I told them I want to do a comedy. I'm tired of doing drama, and you know, I'm really into doing this. I really want to do this role where I'm a boss of a company or something, and the big boss. And I think I'm smart, but I'm really not, and everyone hates me. Something like Michael in The Office, you know? I really want to do that. So they know that. And I definitely do not want to do Imelda Marcos because I've been asked if I want to do her.
Oh
No,
my
definitely don't want to
God.
do her.
Yeah.
Nope. Not because of anything else, but because she was really tall and really beautiful.
Oh, really?
And she was a beauty queen, you know.
I'm seeing her
So
in my mind. I didn't know that she was tall.
for a Filipina,
Ah,
she
yeah.
was pretty tall. I think she was 5'6", so that's tall for a Filipina, right? And
Too many shoes, anyway.
too many shoes, yeah. And the terno, which I really
Yeah.
does not look good on me because I have a short neck, so makes my neck look shorter. But yeah, we did. We said I told them about what I want to do, but actually, what's really important to me is who I work with. That's really what matters to me. I think that's the change that also happened in my career. I'm at that point now where I can choose, and I always have a list. It's 3 in my list. 1, is it a good script? 2, who's the director? And 3, who are the actors I'm working with? Because those three things really matter: the script, the filmmaker, and my scene partners. So that's it. If and I gave Adam a list of people I want to work with. I hope it happens, but yeah, I'm there. And it doesn't have to be famous people.
Right.
If I don't know, maybe I can have coffee with you one day and meet you and watch your work if it's obscure or you've done an independent short film, and I watch you and I think you're fun to work with, you're brilliant, then I would love to work with you. That kind of thing.
Well, I'm sorry it took so long for you to come into my world. And now you are, and now I'm excited about what you are going to offer us going forward now. I'm very excited.
Ah, my gosh, I'm excited too. Oh my gosh, I really can't wait to see what's next. Yeah.
Dolly de Leon, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham, formerly IFP. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.